Good morning YouTube, it's a different location today. Putting this gable end roof on. So there'll be a gable go up there and we'll come across the same height as the ridge on the existing, and we'll create two valleys. We'll lay boards on and cut the jack rafters into the roof. So here we are on the roof. All we'll do now is find the centre of this extension, which is about 7 metres. So put a timber on the wall there, or some kind of prop. We may use one of the rafters for now, just at height, to screw the side of our ridge to. And we'll find the centre on the building there, take a couple of ridge tiles off and find our centre on that roof there. And then we'll go ahead and set out our first couple of rafters. So we've got the ridge in place now. Use one of the purlins just to prop it off the floor. Get ourselves a level. That's levelled in now as well. The existing ridge as it goes level with the top. What I've done then is I've measured from the very top corner down to the outside corner of the wall plate and made sure that's exactly the same all the way up and all the way back down. I'm now going to pattern cut one of these 6x2 rafters using the method that I've always used, and I'll go through it with you now. So this timber I'm using is 145, old fashioned 6x2. You should always do a third of your, or the rule is that you do about a third of your bird's mouth. So I'll work on 50mm. So I'll mark a line, I'll look down my timber, and I've established that this is the top of my timber. I'm now going to mark 50mm from the top down there, and then fix this piece of lath on my 50mm line so it sticks over, and then I'll put this edge on top of the ridge up there, and I'll show you why I do that in a minute. So what I've done now is on the top of the rafter, this is on top and this is going to be on the ridge, come 50mm down and then get a timber and fix that on your line so this is sticking over to allow you to sit the ridge in there. This will become clear in a minute, because 50mm is going to be, as you can see there, this is just a mock-up of what will be a bird's mouth. That's 50mm, that's what I'm going to be cutting out to drop it over the wall plate. So in essence now, if I come 50mm above on the top, it gives me the same angle. So all I'll do is I'll drop this on the top, drop the edge with no bird's mouth cutting it down there at the minute, on top of the edge of the wall plate where the bird's mouth will sit on there, and then get a level and mark myself a plumb cut in position. Okay, so that end now is sat on the wall plate. This end, that timber, as you can see, is sat on top of the ridge. So in effect now I've come 50mm above the ridge. So what I'll do now is get my level, put a level line, level down there. That is now my plumb cut. Once you've done that, get your timber back down, take this off, spin your timber over, and that now is going to be my plumb cut. If you've got one of these, or if you haven't, get yourself one, they're really handy. 12-inch, 300mm roofing square. It's got plumb cut on it already, and seat cut. So what you do now is use top edge for setting, so always maintain that all the time. So it doesn't matter if you go bottom edge or top edge of this. If you set your square like that now, making sure you do that, making sure you do the plumb cut side, which is what that is, mark for plumb cuts on that side, look, because that's what you're marking, is your plumb cut. And use that then for your plumb cut and your seat cut, because this is all the same thing now, you haven't got to move that again. So set your square, use this top edge, remember, and you can use this square now to run your saw against as well, which always helps to keep your keep these square. Okay, so you've done that, level your plumb cut. Once you've got your measurement, you then measure from there down to your bird's mouth. I know now that from the top corner, this side, down to the outside edge of the wall plate there, the outside edge, which is the cavity side, is 4230, because I measured from there up to there, and measured from the other side back down to there, and made sure that it was exactly the same cut. So I'll now measure from there, this point, down to the bottom of the timber, but now I've got to come up 50mm, remember, because if you remember from this, that's your depth of your bird's mouth. which is where we mark this line at 50mm. 50mm. And where the measurement from here, 4230, meets that point, 50mm up, 4230 here, little tiny dot there, and then that's where you do your plumb cut seat cut. So hook your tape on there, on the edge. I use a little square, just set 50mm on, which is the same as that. So hook your tape onto there. So now 4230 from the top point, 50mm up, there, 4230 there. That point there, where the two meet, is where you do your bird's mouth. I'll get my square and I'll show you how to mark that on. So make sure you orientate your square right, so you know you're going to work from the top edge. You know it's plumb cut that you want to mark first. So exactly the same plane as that one now, which is down this way. Put this on the top of the rafter. Slide this again, make sure it's on plumb cut side, across to your mark, and then strike a line. If you go all the way through like that, it just means when you've got your follow your saw on, you can follow the line with your saw. So what you do now is, you then change your square like that, because you now want to mark seat cut. So you run that over like that, find your point again, and run your mark through. Now you'll see there it doesn't go all the way to the edge, because it never does. It's just the way the squares are designed. So all I do then, if you mark a good strong line on there, move your square down now, like that, line it back up again, and then finish your line off like that. And that now is your bird's mouth. It's all cut through now. I've used the saw, the circular saw, to try and get this as square as we can. This is now going to be our pattern. I have run through a little bit there with the saw, but just don't keep it to a minimum. Go so far and then finish off with a handsaw. This is now going to be our pattern to mark all the others off. So they're going to be all the same. So just mark yourself on there and use that to mark the rest of them. But we are going to try that first anyway to make sure that it does fit correctly. Actually, what I've got here in my instance is, because this is quite a low pitch, I'm going to have to do a double bird's mouth. So I've cut the one that you've just seen over here to there. So now what I've done is I've levelled from here down to there, which gives me a measurement of 105. And I've then measured from here to here, which gives me a measurement of 205. I'm now going to mark that on the rafter as well. So a double bird's mouth over this brickwork as well. So once you've got this one cut, you've already got these lines here as references, because I've run them all the way through. I've now come 205 from there, which is where the wall plate's going to sit like that, to 205, which is there, that's where the external brickwork's going to sit, like that. Then top of wall plate's there. I'll level the cross, and I've got to come down 105mm. So I've done that, come down 105mm. I'm now going to make another little bird's mouth here to match this one, but it'll be smaller. So check my pattern. From there down to that wall plate, from there to that wall plate. It's bang on. So pattern works. Then put your pattern top of another one. Put little tick marks on. Don't mark in that hole, because you'll get the same discrepancy every time. Little tick marks. That's to go over the brickwork, remember, as I just described. All the way up the end. Make sure it's all flush with the top edge though. Bottom edge not so much. Make sure the top edge is flush. All the way up. Same on this one. Little tick mark, as you can see there. Little tick mark for the plumb cut. Use your square again. Mark this, and then just continue all the way through. So now the rain stopped. I've done a coat change, a glove change, a hat change, just to try and keep a little bit drier. Sun's coming out, as you can see. It's about 2:30 now. We had to keep stopping and starting because of the weather. So I've got my two rafters set back to front, which keeps it parallel. I paralleled my ridge going into there, but I'll check it again when I put my my jack rafters on. I'm cutting this pile now with my pattern, and then I'll infill all this now, both sides, checking one at a time, back and front, because if you do one side, you've got a tendency to bellow it out like that. So I do this side, that side, this side, that side. Keeps it parallel. Morning YouTube, another new day. So you can see there we just got the roof on. So because of the weather today, I'm not going to be continuing cutting into the roof, because I've got to remove all the tiles. I'm going to be lathing, or temporary lathing, and felting the the main part that you can see just there. So I'm going to cut the fascia and soffit ends off first, and then I'll crack on and set myself out for the felt. So before I can put the lath and felt on, I need to get the rafters cut off first for the fascia, or the back of the fascia. So the customer wants me to come to the back of this existing, because this is the barge board on the end of the existing gable. So I've measured from the brickwork to the back of there, and it's 160. I've now marked 160 off the new brickwork to there, at that end. I've marked it on this end, 160. I've marked the top off, squared it off, this end and that end. I'm now going to pull a string line from here over to there and cut all these off parallel. It's a better idea to do that rather than mark 160 individually off all of these, just in case there's any discrepancy in the brickwork or the wall plate or the rafter or whatever. And at least it makes sure that your rafters and your ends are parallel, and you don't, in exaggeration, you don't get a bit of a bow in your either way, that way or this way, in your fascia. Squared them across both ends. I've now put a string line, chalk line, all the way across to mark top my rafters. Now all I'll do now, I'll just get a level, mark these down, and then cut them off. Okay, so these are all cut off. I can put these now on there and set them roughly what the brick. I'll stick it on time lapse and I'll get this done. Set this one first, level to the brick, and then I levelled from here through to this one with a 6 foot level through this one. I've dropped them down that way so I can sort of get a 90-degree rough idea of level for this place here. Once I'd set this, I then put the level on the bottom side and made sure it was level this way as well. And I used my level, like you've just seen, to run them all and sit them on the level so they're all flat all the way across the bottom. What I'll do now is, because I can afford to cut these a bit shorter, because I've already got this to fix into, I'll cut this off now with the saw, set my depth so I don't cut into this, and I'll take all those off.
Right there on top of the moon, we could sit and do nothing. I wish we were bold to just fly away. I don't wanna care, just be here and I'm good alone. I'll be okay, miss you like an old friend. Too scared now, thinking I should call up, I'm not. I think it's hard how we always wait another day, how we watch things that can't just walk away. live down by the water, watch you come and go home. I wish we were both to like sail away.
Right, I finished the fascia and soffit structure and back and front. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to lath and felt this, and I say lath, it is just temporary, on the joints and then one at the top just to hold this up, it blowing off. Got the felt there for me, nice breathable felt. And I asked him to get me these instead. These are felt nails. Now they've got a large head on them, which I think is better for doing this, especially in the wind, on your own especially. I've got the stapler, hammer stapler, which is really quick, but in the wind, if it catches it, it rips the staples out, whereas this lath nails, felt nails, it won't rip them out because of the large head. Plus I can put the minimum amount in, so there's less holes going into the felt, and then I can hold it down ultimately with the lath. All I'm going to do first, because I know that my felt is 1 metre in length, and I also know that when the gutter goes on here, I've got to come out that distance and then 50mm, 60mm into the centre of the gutter. So what I do then is I measure 60mm past this mark, and from there then, this is, you just sort of run the tape down the rafter, past 60mm past this point, and then run it up then to 1 metre, one there, pull a string line, a chalk line, and then put my first row of felt to that, making sure I've got my overlap into the gutter then. And then when the roofer comes, he can put his eaves protectors on or whatever he wants to do to finish that off, but at least the felt's where it should be, and then it gets me a good start then, nice and level all the way up.
Right there on top of the moon, we could sit and do nothing. I wish we were bold to just fly away. I don't wanna care, just be here and I'm good alone. I'll be okay, miss you like an old friend. Too scared now, thinking I should call up, I'm not.
So, overhang now, into my centre of my gutter. Got my line there now, I know that's parallel now to my fascia. I've then put this first lath on. I haven't put the nails all the way home in case I want to take it off, but generally from my experience, from what I've seen, plenty of roofers do, they tend to double this lath up anyway to cock the last tile up to slow it down as it comes into the gutter. But this is quite a slow pitch anyway. It's only 20 degrees this roof, so you might have to do that. But anyway, it's there just in case he wants to take it off. All I made sure I did though with my first one is I made sure that just about, see, there's a tiny gap there. That's actually my fascia, that I don't come past the line of the back of the fascia. That's what I made sure I did. And then once I set a couple, I'll then use my level then to sit on the top, my 6 foot level, to make sure this goes on as flat as possible, as straight as possible, because I'll never be using that to gauge off to go up the roof for your tiles. But all I'll do now is I'll put my next row of felt on, again set my metre, even though I've got a line there to work to now on the felt, which is good, but again on your own it's a bit difficult. So I'll measure up one end, measure up the other end, 1 metre from the line, which is the designated overlap. You can see there, lap line 150, and then I'll start at the top again, put my pins in, then I'll come back and drop a lath on the joint again, not putting my nails all the way home in case that interferes with the gauging of the tiles. I could actually work that out, but like I say, I'm trying to get in front of the rain, so I'll just keep on going.
I think it's hard how we always wait another day, how we watch things that can't just walk away. Let's live down by the water, watch you come and go home. I wish we were bold to like sail away. I just don't wanna care, can you be here and I'm good alone? I'll be okay, miss you like an old friend. Too scared now, thinking I should call up, I'm not.
I don't think I need to time lapse this anymore. I think it's pretty straightforward and If I'm honest with you, I'm boring myself now, so I don't know what you must be thinking. So anyway, what I've done is, there's 3 rows of felt on there now. I'm going to need a total of probably about 5, maybe 6 to go with the ridge. So I'll just carry on, putting the lath on, working to the lap line, putting a lath on the actual join so it doesn't lift the felt off. So I'll carry on, and the next footage you'll see will be me tomorrow, hopefully, if the rain's okay, the weather's okay, putting the lay board on, cutting all the jack rafters in to finish this roof all the way into there, and then I can felt that in as well for them. Good morning. So I got, as you would have seen, lathed and felted last night. I jumped ahead of myself this morning. I've already jumped up, got half the tiles off on one side and got them down off the scaffold. So we're going to carry on now. We'll set the lay boards on and get ourselves going. So, got half the tiles off. Or say half the tiles, enough tiles that we need now to get our lay board on. I'll put our 8x2 lay board on top now, line it up roughly with the top of the ridge and the top of these rafters as these rafters run through, because it's got to hit the furthest top edge. And then we'll cut them through with a multi-tool, drop it down on top of the trusses, and then fine adjust as we go. So what I've just done then is I've sat the lay board on top of the lath now, temporary, lined myself up where I think I'm roughly going to be when I drop it onto the truss line. I've marked either side of the 8x2 now, and I'll cut the laths out with my multi-tool. And like I said before, the ideal scenario would be all this roof comes off, expose the trusses, it makes it a lot easier, but it's, we need to do it this way so we can cover it up quick if we need to. So I'll cut the laths off now, we'll drop it down and we'll line it all through properly. I'll show you how we do that in a bit. Okay, so our lay board now is sat on the trusses, and so we just cut the laths out either side so we don't expose too much. And when there is rips in the felt, I've just done that, unfortunately. So all you do then is, when it's sat on the trusses, you make sure you apply some pressure on it so it's down as flat as you can. Run a straight edge, and this is because it's the smallest roof, and I know these are all flat. I put my level on. Try and make sure your level is sat equidistant from the bottom, both ends. That always helps. And then make sure then, when you run it in, it touches like that, so it's flush. That's what you want there. And then this one, because there was quite a cast in my ridge, what I did was I set it down. I actually set my rafters down about 20mm, 25mm, and then level the line instead and work to a level line, which sometimes that's a lot easier as well. So all I've done then is, same here, this same edge has got to run to the level line. That's actually got to come up a very tiny smidge, and then you just put your cut on there against your ridge, mark your cut so it sits nice and tidy, and that'll be screwed, and this will get screwed then to nailed to every single truss all the way down. The only other thing you need to do, this lay board is a little bit short, but because ideally you want to go all the way down to the bottom, but that depends on your centres. But as it is, this has worked out well for us, because my first rafter sits about there where the level is, 450 centre, and this end actually sits on a truss as well, so that's perfect. That works well. And so the first rafter's up here anyway, so that's fine. And this is an 8x2, so C24 8x2, so I'm more than happy with not having to go all the way down to the bottom. Plus with the brickwork and everything there, it doesn't make sense. But if this was a bit short and I had to cut it, all you do is whatever that cut is there, like you do with your plumb cut and your seat cut, whatever the angle that is on your roofing square, that is the opposite. So in effect, that's the seat cut, that's your plumb cut on your lay board. So I'll set my jack rafters on now, mark my centres all the way up, 450 across the top, and then get some lengths and we'll start cutting. So I've got the lay boards fixed all the way down, 4 4-inch in each truss. I think that should be plenty. I've then drew a level line on the truss there. Then I've got my roofing square and reset it just to check that. And that's just shy of 30 degrees, probably 29.5 if it's exact, but I'll go for 30 degrees because what that does now for me is it's my normal plumb cut for there, which was 20, my normal seat cut, which goes across this way. But then because I've got a metre 30 degree pitch now, I have to set my bevel and put a compound cut on, which that cut now, I'll bevel it over, it's going to be 30 degrees to match this roof. I've already got a couple up already, and I will show you that in a minute, but I just sort of show you the basically the method of cutting them really. So you cut your same plumb cut on as you have done for all your other rafters up there, same plumb cut. Then instead of measuring from here down and doing the old 50mm up, you don't do none of that anymore on the jack rafters. I'll show you why. It's because you're coming to the top of the rafter now. You may be able to see just there, that top edge there comes down and sits on the outside so that you measure to the top edge. I've just measured from my line on my ridge down to that corner. I'll show you in a minute which corner I mean. And you measure on your top edge from there all the way down. And my measurement on this jack rafter is 2455. So there's your line, 2455 along the top, from the top edge all the way down to there. Put your seat cut on the top edge, seat cut. Use a bit of lath or something then, just to find your line. Mark it on the top there, like that. Find your line. Once you've got your line, this is your seat cut, remember, so this is opposite to the one we've done up the top there. Run it through again. You can just put your seat cut back on there just to check it, but like that. So I use this to run your line all the way through because it is quite a long seat cut now. So once you've done that, you've then got to mark 30 degrees, in this instance going that way, to sit on the plane of your roof, like this. So I'll just get my square. So I know that when this rafter stands up in the air like that, my roof I've got to cut this way, like that. So, because I'm going to run my saw from this end first, because it's set, as you can see, it's beveled over like that. Just want to give myself a reference line to mark to. So mark your line on there. Set your speed square, or your bevel, or another roofing square, but I haven't got another one, so just set this to 30 degrees. Like that. Mark your line. So you can see there now, there's a line marked there at 30 degrees on there, like that. Because that's the splay of my roof up there like that, on this angle. So I'll run this through the saw and we'll show you putting it up in the air. So when you cut it, big long seat cut, this is what you end up with, like that. It's an angle that way, and an angle that way. So that now sits on your roof, because that angle there is 30 degrees, which is what my existing roof is. Which is why we put that that compound cut on. So this is your seat cut, so it sits against there, back and front. It's got to sit nice and tidy, nice and square for good bearing. And then this is your normal seat cut, plumb cut up there, normal seat cut, and then that's your 30 degrees. Now, because I've got this roof, sometimes you have to adjust it slightly. This timber is going down and back up again on the existing roof. So consequently, when I run my level across the top there, this rafter was dropping low a little bit. So despite that being my 450 mark there, I've just pulled it that way just a touch, just to maintain these in line. And rather than adjusting them all individually to maintain, I'm just doing the same with that one. Measuring them properly, the exact measurement, and then pulling them over just ever so slightly, just about 3mm up the roof, just to make sure this sits nice and flat, especially with these big tiles. They will rock terrible if they don't if it's not, the rafters aren't flat, because it's not very forgiving. Little tiles you might get away with a little bit of a undulation, but not big ones. So I've got my other three now, got my other three marked up there, and I'll put these in, and then we can start felting this in. Blue skies today. Good morning. Start my last day today on this job. It is Friday. Looking a hell of a lot nicer, it has been all week. We'll see where we get. As you can see from the footage now, I got all these jack rafters went on yesterday, and we've felted it completely in as well. All we did up here, if I show you, when we'd finished the jack rafters, as you can see there, you can sort of see at that point there is my centre where my lay board was all the way down, so that'll be your valley. As you can see, this tile that I put back on sort of form where your valley will be. You'll just sort of cut the tiles like that, move them all down. What you do then is when you start felting is you put one continuous piece of felt from the top, the ridge, and I've folded it all over there, all the way down to the bottom first before you do anything else. And then what you do is you've got to come minimum of 2 rafters, and I've gone back 2, put a new piece of felt on and continued it, and it's gone up and underneath there. So what happened then is when he takes this off, he'll run his felt this way and up and under this one and continuous up this way. So then you've completely encapsulated that valley, so there's no way, unless you rip it, that water can get into there. But you just put your fiberglass ridge, or fiberglass valley in that point, all the way down. When you put your valley felt on, which is what we've done here, we use this valley felt to waterproof last night and put the tiles back on. So I'll take these tiles off, I'll lap this felt back, which is already halfway. You can see we put little tick marks on there, which is 500mm, and then lapped it underneath there. So I should leave that now, but I can just get this, take the tiles off, lap it back, put my jack rafters on, and lap it back on top of my jack rafters. And then we can continue, as I just said, to felt and lath this in. Oh, left my level last night. I don't like doing that, leaving tools out. There you go. So yeah, there was no water coming last night, so we're happy with that. I might see if I better get a footage today of me putting these on. I didn't really get much yesterday because of the imminent weather, but I think at the moment it's meant to be clear all day, but we shall see. Rafters are on, nice and level. All fixed the lay board, nice and tidy. All good to go. And now, pull this felt back, take it to these rafters, which then forms the valley felt. And then I'll start putting all the ones I've put under here, all these that I've all pulled back and kept out the wind for now. I'll pull all these back onto these rafters and extend the felt. I'm going to set his purlins for him and temporary prop them so we can build it in on that end over there, could build that in then. And this end there's a steel under here, and we can prop up off it, so I can get that done for today as well. Roof's all done, all felted in. Just waiting for confirmation on the tile gauging so I can put the lath on, because this is a 20-degree pitch as opposed to a 30, so I can't go off that gauge there, because it needs to increase the gauge because it's a lower pitch. So I'm waiting for that to be confirmed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the collar ties on, and all this does, it just strengthens the roof a little bit, stops it spreading on the walls. So all I've done is, I know these are all set at 2.4 because I had them cut. Mark my centre on my timber, centre ridge. Then I put a plumb bob on, or in this instance my plumb bob stroke chalk line. Marked half of the ridge then, it's blowing a bit now, but, and I made sure I got that centre. I've levelled that in, I put plenty of nails, it's actually 6 in each one I've put in the end of there, 6 4-inch nails. So yeah, I shall do one this side as well, on there. Same position, same way I've done this one, and then I shall pull a string line from here to there and line them all up then so they're all in line. You're not going to see them, they're in the loft, but it's got to be right, hasn't it? I'll crack on with that. All my collar ties are in. Well done, I'm happy with that now. Stops the any additional spread of the roof once it gets loaded with the tiles. What I'm doing now is I've got to put a purlin in, 82 purlin, specified on the drawing. All C24 stuff anyway. And I'm going to span it. It's got to go halfway up. So this is a 4.2 from the wall plate to the ridge. So I'm going to come 20-50, mark a centre with a string line. I'm starting to cut my 82s now at 20-50, at 2.8, sorry, which takes me all the way through, and 2 rafters in onto my jack rafters there. What I'm going to do then is I'm then going to put a 20-degree pitch on the top of here, so splay it over. So when it goes onto the rafter, it sits nice and tight, and it comes down like that and sits at an angle like that. So they've got full bearing on top of the purlin. And then what I'll do then is I shall fix it for now on the string line so it's nice and straight, and then we're going to prop off the brickwork up underneath, on the side of it and underneath it. And in this end we'll temporary prop it because it's going to get put on the built in with the blockwork when this blockwork goes up. Stick it on time lapse and I'll crack on with that. So I've installed the purlin on there. That's all on and nailed to the rafters. So I put that 20-degree pitch on it, then allows me to sit that nice and flat all the way along. Sit at the back of the rafters. Then put those noggins in there, 3 rows of noggins in. And that's going to take the straps that will come from there, from the gable, and get nailed into there to stop any movement on the gable and just secure it a bit more. I'm going to stick it on time lapse now, I think, and do this one, repeat it over there. So 3 rows of the noggins, and then purl in the middle, and then we'll prop then off here, off that steel, up to the purlin. So, I'm all done before it goes dark. All my packers are in for the straps, Gable straps. Purlin's in. He's going to prop that in a minute. Put the props in for the purlin that side, off the brick wall. Put the collar ties in. Props in this side, off the steel. again, same again, purlin. Packers in, or noggins in for these straps. Jump outside. Oh. This is all done, both sides. I poured all the tiles down there now just so it's waterproof. As it goes dark now, I'm just going to set this first tile out for him, because he's going to do the tiling himself. Set this tight so it comes centre gutter, and then he can then gauge it off here then up to the top to get the spacing right. We're going to put a couple of laths on there before we go, just to cover the joints up with the new lath that we've got, and that'll finish the day. I hope you enjoy this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching.